Okay, so especially let's move on to the project 01. Okay, let me try to simulate this one, and you will understand some basic things how you need to handle the project deployments as a DevOps engineer, and what are all the things you need to make sure while you are deploying your application into the hosting environment. All these things we'll understand now. And especially when you see this architecture, what are the architecture I'm showing you on the screen? This is the easiest one which you can easily understand. And if you understand this one, and further things, a little more complications will be added on stage by stage, and ultimately you will understand everything. Okay, fine tip. So when we are discussing about especially the project 01, I just want to give the introduction for the components first. What components we are using here? Especially, you know already why I'm separating this one. So the first one, why I'm placing this particular dot line here. The above one is the portal component where your hosting environment is there. The below one is the DevOps part. Okay, wherever you go, whether you go to AWS, whether you go to GCP, the concept is same. Concept is same. The mostly the component names will change. Okay, that's only the difference here. Okay, concept is as usual. And especially first and foremost thing, when we start discussing about this particular DevOps part, you can see Azure repositories where the developers are checking the code to the repositories, and the build pipelines are pulling this code and it is building that particular code into the packaged format. That could be a zip, that could be a zap, that could be a var, that could be an image, can be anything. Then release pipelines will pull that build artifact, and the release pipeline will deploy that build artifact into the hosting environment. At the moment, I'm considering my hosting environment is app service. That's the part exactly I showed you, right? Already as part of the host environments. If you take a look on the hosting environment, so especially this is the app service which I'm just considering for now. And this app service is the one which we are using for our deployments. Especially when you see this diagram, I consider two app services. On top of it, I have just added another component. What is this component? This component is infrastructure. This component is an infrastructure, and this component is exactly the hosting. Okay, this is an infrastructure team. Now, what you should understand now here is how exactly how exactly we can place this infrastructure and the app service together. The how we can provision. That's one thing. So our hosting environment is app service. That's very clear. And this one we will call as app service plan. App service AS ASP. Okay, AS ASP. So you just take a note of these two things. I will show you how to provision these two. Okay. So this is app service and this is app service plan. Please understand this one. Okay. I'm just taking a separate icon here so that I think your understanding would be good. Okay. I'm just keeping this is AS and this one I'm just considering as here ASP. Okay. I'm just considering this one as a ASP. ASP. Fine. Fine team. So these two things are okay. Now, when it comes to this component, what is this component? Trust me, this component, whatever the component I'm telling you now, this component definitely will be there in each and every architecture. Whatever the architecture you're drawing from, especially from the Azure cloud, this component is must. What is this component? This component name is Azure Friend Door. Azure Friend Door. This is an entry point for any of the devices or any of the external person. This is an entry point. At this particular entry point, why I'm calling this one as an entry point, usually what exactly our entry points, our entry point would be the load balancers always. Always the load balancer. Yes, it's a load balancer. So it's a load balancer. But Azure has four different types of load balancers. Then why you consider Azure friend or now? What is the reason behind? There is a strong reason behind the Azure friend door. See, those load balancers are Azure friend door application gate. Aravind, you can raise your questions later. I'll give you the chance. Later you can rise. You just take a note of your questions. Azure friend door, application gateway, traffic manager, and the load balancer. So these four are the load balancers available in Azure Cloud. Each and every load balancer has its own importance. But especially when we talk about the Azure Front Door is a global load balancer. It's not specific to a region team. It's a global load balancer. So meaning that your load balancer, Azure Front Door, will not be deployed in any specific region. While you are provisioning this component itself, it will not ask you what exactly the region you are planning to deploy. If you recall our virtual machine provisioning team, during our virtual machine provisioning, it clearly asked us where exactly you are planning to deploy. Is it Southeast Asia, or East Asia, or US West, or US East, right? That's clearly asked us. But in this case, it will not ask you what exactly the region because it's a global component. What is the advantage of the global component? A global component can see other regions as well. So the advantage for me is my global component can handle the traffic to this region, primary region, can handle the traffic to the secondary region as well. I'm talking about the DR scenario. I'm talking about the DR scenario. So what is DR scenario here? Disaster recovery scenario. Okay. The first and foremost thing, whenever you are setting up an architecture, generally your architect will set up the architecture. But what my recommendation is, you also try to understand what exactly and what are the things we need to take care while setting up this architecture. Especially any cloud, the concept is same. Understand that, okay? Wherever you deploy your service, for example, this is a regional component. This is a global component. Azure has 60 plus regions where they are maintaining their own data centers. Now, when you deploy your app service, let's take a Java application. Let's take a Java application. When you deploy your Java application, see the Java developers are checking the code to the repository. Build pipeline is pull the Java code, and the release pipeline is pulling the packaged code, and its release pipeline is deployed that packaged code into this app service. That's really good. And your release pipeline is responsible to deploy the code to this particular app service also, which is sitting in another region. Let's assume the primary belongs to Singapore and secondary belongs to Hong Kong. Let's take like this. So this is a paid region concept, okay? Azure paid region. You can check for this one. So whenever you are setting up any kind of combination with a disaster recovery, you should understand what is the counterpart for your region. For example, you can take, see, let's take a Southeast Asia, Singapore as one region. The counterpart is the East Asia. So meaning that if something happens to Singapore, if something happens to the Singapore data centers, the entire Singapore region, then immediately Azure will fail over that particular load to the East Asia. So that is what their goal. So likewise, they maintain the paid regions, which you can take a look here. And these particular regions, so what are the regions you're seeing here? Based upon that one only, you also need to configure your load or your architecture. That one also will come into the picture. But for now, I'm just considering my primary as the Singapore. So when something happens to Singapore, meaning that the data centers are specific to this entire region, some disaster happen, where, where usually Azure will maintain at least three zones, at least three different zones to maintain the zonal availability. It will maintain three zones. If anything happens for the region, then definitely your architecture infrastructure will not work. Then you need to have a chance, or you need to have an idea how exactly you need to fail fail over the load from primary to the secondary. You need to have an idea how that particular thing will happen with the help of friend door. The friend door is responsible just to fail over your load from primary to the secondary. But how? You just go to the friend door, you just change the traffic to 100% to the below. Earlier, it was 100% to the primary. I'm just giving a hint here, Tim. Okay. First, initially, when you set up, you just set up 100% to the primary. So meaning that entire your traffic will go to only primary. If something happens here, you will just come to the front door. You will make 100% to the secondary. You will just make 100% to the secondary, and automatically your traffic, what are the traffic coming from mobile or coming from desktop or coming from the user, whatever the traffic, each and everything will go to the secondary only. Then zero, you will set zero for primary, so that you can safeguard your request. You will not see any failure because no request is going to the primary. If a request is going to the primary, obviously you'll face some error. The client will face an error. So these kind of regional control, so in between the primary and secondary, will happen with the help of only the friend door. That's why the Azure Friend Door is a global component, and also it's a certification question as well, team, for your design and solutions. Definitely, you will get these kind of questions. Okay, so why we need to use this particular Azure Friend Door? We have traffic manager, we have application gateway, we have load balancer. The specific reason for the Friend Door is it's a global component where it can definitely balance the load across the regions. Keep that point in the mind, team. All right. So once this is done, now what exactly the part you need to think about? See, you just make sure your disaster recovery solution really. But another thing you need to make sure is the high availability, especially the high availability. What is high availability? I already explained during our on-prem and on-premises and the cloud discussions. There, I already explained this one. Now, if you come here, team, even if you see this particular app service or the Mukul, can you please be on mute? Yeah. So what are the app service you are seeing here, right, team? See, for example, if this particular app services belongs to only one zone, in case of zonal failure happen, if you could maintain one more app service in another zone, that definitely will help you to handle your load, right? So that is zonal high availability. That's what exactly you need to think about when you are setting up your architecture. You need to think about your backup. You need to think about your high availability. You need to think about disaster recovery. You need to consider these three things for sure. You need to consider these three things for sure, team. Okay. If you consider these three things, easily you can handle your architecture, and your architecture is always good. When it goes for the Azure Architect reviews, also definitely they will give the good score. So that is really very important. And coming to the logging and monitoring, when you see the components on the right side, if you see, this is Azure Log Analytics Workspace and this is Azure Health. If you want to understand health of each and every component, no. For example, if something happens to my app service, but I want to know what exactly happened to the app service, you need to configure a health alert. If you configure a health alert, obviously this service health will tell you, see, your app service in the Southeast Asia region is not good, not healthy. It will definitely throw an email to us. And this is Log Analytics Workspace, LAW, Log Analytics Workspace. This particular Log Analytics Workspace will help us to route the logs to this centralized repository where you can query in the Log Analytics Workspace to know what exactly that happened if some error happens. This is a kind of a repository where all your logs will come and sit here, and you can query your logs whenever you want. If there is a client error, the client reports, "Hey, I'm facing an issue." You can directly come to the LAW and you can query, and you can see what exactly the error log is telling. And this is what I just mentioned. It's a health, it's a service health, right? This is the service health. This particular service health will help you to just understand your components are really healthy or not. If something happens, I think you will immediately will get an email. And another one is Azure Monitor. Even this one also will tell you, for example, whatever the application, right? For example, I have deployed an application inside, but who will monitor my application? You can make use of the Azure Monitor to just check your website health, and Azure Monitor will report you if something happens to your website also. These are the three components at this architecture we are going to use specially. Okay, I'm introducing these three at this moment in this particular architecture. And especially this component is Azure Friend Door. I'm just writing here, okay? I'm just writing here the component name. This is FD. Just writing this one as an FD, okay? You just understand, okay? Azure Friend Door, okay? All right, team. So this is all exactly about our architecture, and we are planning to simulate the same architecture, and we need to write down the steps. What are the steps involved in simulating this architecture? Then we will go for the provision. Okay. All right, Tim. Any questions so far?
Yes, good morning. Before going to proceed anything, so but What exactly is doing in the Azure front door? Means it will catch and dispatch or what? Like this.
See, this is a load balancer behavior, Biswajit. Okay. What is load balancer? What exactly the load balancer will do? For example, if you have the multiple instances are behind and you are running the same version of the application, we cannot provide the individual IP address to the client. For example, let's forget about the app servers. Let's take a virtual machine. If you have a virtual machine, right? For example, let's take a virtual machine. If you take a virtual machine, just a moment. Yeah, if you take a virtual machine, I'm just taking a VM. For example, you have a virtual machine and you have deployed an application inside this virtual machine. Okay. To maintain high availability, what exactly you did? You just kept one more virtual machine. You just kept one more virtual machine. This is what exactly is helping you to maintain your high availability. If something happens to this VM, still you have another VM, right? This is what exactly maintaining high availability. Now the thing is, each and every component in any cloud environment or any infrastructure having its own identity, which is an IP address. So what, for example, this may running with some IP address, some 13.14. Some 30.54, or some IP address I have given here. And another IP address I'm just taking. This is just I'm just taking as 55. Now the thing is, I cannot give these two IP address for the end user. If I have the end user or the end customer, I cannot give this particular IP address to them. Just use any one of this IP address. That is absolutely wrong, right? If you cannot do try this one or try this one, that is nonsense. So what exactly the best process here? Generally, you will create a domain. See, for example, if you take this particular website, app.diagrams.net, it's a domain where the diagrams this particular organization is maintaining, and it is showcasing its brand, its own brand value. So obviously any company, if they want to host any application, they want to deploy in any cloud environment, they will not use any of cloud provider domains. They will try to use their own. For example, let's take some just learning.com. Maybe let's take some TNT techies. I'm just taking one particular website here. Okay, com. I'm just taking this particular thing. Okay. So this is one of the website I'm just considering for now. This is one of the website I'm just considering. Behind this one, there is an IP address always, right? There is an IP address. So just considering some IP address. I'm just keeping some IP addresses 13.45.67.78. What is this IP address? This IP address is the load balancer. Now, for example, when the customer hit this domain, especially in the cloud in their browsers, okay, when they hit this particular domain in their browsers, it will resolve to this particular IP address. Since it's a load balancer, load balancer has the capability to route the traffic between the instances or among the instances. For example, you have only two here, right? So whatever the load balancer domain, I'm just drawing this particular domain here. I'm just making sure something like this. This is the load balancer. This load balancer is responsible to route the traffic between these two instances. See, now the thing is, my load balancer is not caring about especially your especially the VM identities, but you will configure inside the load balancer. Hey, you need to route the traffic 50% traffic to this one, 50% traffic to this one, or you route 100% to this one, only zero to this one. All these calculations are whatever the routing policy you are using, or weighted routing policy, or priority routing policy, or proximity, whatever it is, everything you can control at the load balancer. That is what Azure Front Door. Basically, is it clear?
Yes, that means whatever the AWS load balancer is there, that work is there. Here Azure front door is working same work. Am I right?
Yes, same. Any load
Oh,
balancer will behave same.
mm,
Maybe the slight differences. What I just raised some four load balancer in Azure itself, right? They have its their own importance. Okay, let's discuss one by one. Okay, based on our architectures.
sure. Here, please.
Yeah. All right. So I'm reading the question. Yes, Sekti, go ahead.
Dinesh, you mentioned that front door traffic manager and one I forgot and load balancer.
Application gateway, load balancer. Yeah.
Yeah, application gateway. So this front door is at the global level, and traffic manager, application gateway, and load balancer they will come below this particular thing, or or you are going to explain it?
Oh, sorry, Siddhi, am I going to include those things as part of this architecture or further architecture? Is it
Yeah,
your question?
yeah, yeah. See that
Yeah, we will not
we have got.
those. Yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
So we have understood that front door is the entry point to the system, and it is a
Yeah,
load balancer. And if there
yeah.
is something goes wrong, we can switch it over. So
Mm.
where does the traffic manager, app gateway, and other load balancer plays the role?
See, I will bring that particular load balancer into our corresponding architectures, etc. Okay, let's not pull that because
Okay,
I will
okay,
explain those things
fine,
with
thank
architecture only. Okay, so don't worry on that. Yeah, yeah. Okay, so I see some questions. Especially I think I'm seeing a question from Pawan. Okay, will it be possible to keep the dynamic of the manual? We need to, what is that? We need to change, right? We need to failure or failback you're talking about, I believe, Pawan. Okay. So generally, it can be automatic also, Pawan. Okay. It can be automatic also. You can configure that, but there is a problem if you configure automatic. I will explain that one when I'm provisioning the friend door. Okay, not an issue. Even the Azure recommendation is also, especially the on the Azure friend door. Don't make it automatic. If something happens, really, I think Azure will reach out to you. Then you can just switch your traffic. Otherwise, you can do it on your own as well. If something happens, it's a big thing, right? If disaster happens, it's a big thing. Okay. All right. The next one is that is trend or yes, you're right. Yeah. Next one, is there a cost difference between the load balancer? Yes, there's a lot of cost difference is there actually. You are right. Especially the load balancer is the cheapest one. It's a load balancer which I call as a fourth component during our load balancer types. But Azure Friendo, again, Azure Friendo is of two types actually. Okay. Azure Friendo Standard, Azure Friendo Premium. Again, two models are there. Okay. The standard is the one which integrates with the Azure App Service over the internet. This is an internet connection. And Azure Premium is the one which integrates with the App Service over the intranet. The more secure. That's why. But you don't know what is the internet or VPC. I never haven't explained anything on the virtual network. Don't worry. That's why I haven't pulled that. I'm going to simulate this one on the Azure Friendo standard. Okay, that's the thing exactly we're simulating. And Azure Friendo standard is $30. Azure Azure Friendo Premium is $330. Lot of difference is the 10 times difference. Okay, so you need to be very cautious when you are explaining to the client whether you are interested to use Azure Friendo Premium or Azure Friendo Standard. If it is Azure Friendo Premium, it would cost you a lot. Okay, by end of the month you will see the surprise if you are using multiple Friendos. So you need to be very cautious on that. At loss of the session, it will help the rhythm. That's fine. Yeah, that's fine, Tamal. That's a good one because I just need to give. I just thought I need to give some break here. Otherwise it's completely a one-way direction discussion. That's only the thing. No problem. I think usually the practice is like that only, Tamal. I like that only because I just pumped some sort of data into your minds. That's why I just gave some break to just raise some questions. Okay. All right. So Vijay, so let's take a question settler. Definitely, I'll take that one only. That's a actual practice also. Okay, release pipeline will deploy on both primary and secondary applications or only on the primary, then replication will be done. No, no, no. I think we will deploy into the both. We will deploy the same version into the both, Mukul. Okay, so that's the thing exactly. All right, all right, team. So now let's move on. Especially, you know what exactly we are going to do now. Now we are going to write down the steps as an architect and as a DevOps engineer. What are all the steps specially involved in implementing this project? Okay, those things we'll talk about. Especially, first and foremost, I'm just keeping your architecture on the left side so that I think we'll write on the right. Okay, the first and foremost thing, especially, well, let's go in order, Tim. Let's go in order. Okay, what exactly the first component you need to provision in the cloud? Generally, what exactly you need to provision? So I'm just taking the portal component on the top and the DevOps component on the second, on the bottom. Okay, that's a common thing. As usual, I'm just following. Okay, so now the firstly team on the portal component, the first and foremost thing, provisioning the virtual machine, right? So that's the first thing which we need to make sure. Why we need a virtual machine? I never mentioned any virtual machine here, but why I'm pulling this virtual machine? Why we are
I
provisioning the
think
virtual machine?
yes, if you don't provision the virtual machine, how we can proceed for other work like load balancer things and app server, everything. That's why must we require the virtual machine, am I right?
No. So each and every service is an individual component in the cloud. Okay, and basically.
Okay.
So we
But
don't have
but
any relation with any component actually while
Probably
provisioning.
you'll be
yes,
trying to create a virtual network
No.
or
See, I believe you guys forgot our Friday discussion. Why we need virtual machine? We need a virtual machine from the portal to register that one as Azure DevOps agent. You're seeing on the screen, right? Yes, to run the agent, we need a virtual machine to execute your build and release pipelines. We need a virtual machine, right? So that part you guys forgot. So this is the one exactly will be there in the portal, and we will register the same virtual machine in this DevOps cloud. Hope you remember this one. Okay, explain this one. We spent one session completely on this one. Okay, please understand. So now this is the part exactly we need to do first. Okay. All right. So what exactly the thing happening? So provisioning the virtual machine, that's fine. So once you provision the virtual machine, what exactly you need to do? You need to register. I'm just writing on the DevOps. Register an agent into the. So that's the thing exactly I'm just considering. So the portal task is done and this is done. So meaning that register an agent in the pool, I'm not writing. We need to make sure online that and all happens automatically. Okay. All right. The next provisioning component, especially on the portal side, I'm just going further. Especially you need to provision, provision the app service, provision the app service and app service. Okay, AS and ASP. So these two things, let's provision. What is this app service and app service? So this particular app service is the one which is the hosting component. App service plan is the one which is infrastructure, behind infrastructure. So that's the only the difference between these two things. Okay. You will understand more when I'm actually provisioning the app service. Okay. You will understand better than this. Okay. Don't worry. All right. So once this is done, next what exactly we are going to do here? Then we are going to provision a friend. Okay. FD part. And followed by once every part is done, then what exactly we need to do? We need to have Azure Log Analytics Workspace, LAWS. And followed by you need to configure the health as well, okay, which is a service health for your application. All right. And especially this is the monitor one which will comes by default with your app service, but I'm just keeping your Azure monitoring also at the Azure monitor. All right. So what are the components I'm highlighting here? All are cloud native. All are cloud native components. These are not a cloud agnostic. Everything is a cloud native. Everything we are using from Azure Cloud. We are not bringing any third party integrations here. We are not bringing any kind of some ELK, a Splunk, or any kind of third Datadog. We are not doing anything. This is completely Azure native architecture. Okay. All right. Coming to the DevOps part. Now tell me, team, on the repository, the first and foremost, so you need to provision the repository. So that's the first part which you need to do on the DevOps part. Then what exactly you need to do? You need to create a build pipeline. Okay? Build pipeline. So this is the next thing which you need to make sure. Then you need to create a release pipeline. Important thing I will tell now. Create a release pipeline. So during this particular pipeline creations, you need to configure your agents here. Okay. I'm just adding a point here. Agent configuration is needed. Okay? Agent configuration is needed. So what agent configuration? What are the agent you registered here? That configuration you need to configure here. So that's why I'm just saying here agent configuration is needed. Okay. All right. So once you are done with this particular part, very, very important thing to deploy from release pipelines to the app service, always you need to have a connection. What is this connection? This connection is nothing but a service connection. So the next important thing here is the service connection. Okay. So I'm just writing here service connection creation. And we need to use this particular service connection creation in the pipelines. Okay. Need to use this in the release pipeline. So that's the part exactly you need to keep in mind. Okay. That's it. All right. So if you understand these things, that's more than enough to just handle our architecture. Okay. These are more than enough. More than enough to just proceed further, team. Okay. All right, team. So the first and foremost thing, as part of this architecture, I will show you one application that could be I will use some Java application and I will simulate Java. Maybe the next when we are discussing about the traffic manager or some other load balancers, there I will just deploy some React.js or something like that. We will spread the technology across our architectures. Okay. Let's not stick to only Java. Let's not stick to only Python. Okay. All right, team. So these are all the things exactly we need to make sure. All right. So the first and foremost thing, your first task is already done. If you can recall your first task, which is a provisioning the virtual machine, right? So this particular virtual machine, we have already cleared this one. So that's why I'm just you can just go there and I'm just striking this one. Okay, this is already done. And also we have registered that particular virtual machine as an agent in our pool. So that's why I'm just striking this one. Okay. Now, once this is done, so the next one is the provisioning the app service and the app service. Let's go to the portal. You just go to the global search, just go to app service. You just type the app service. So when you go for the app service, I think it is just listing the app services. Just click on that. Once you click on that, then go for the create. Here you can see different types of app services. One is web app, another one is static web app, another one is web app with the database, another one is completely WordPress site, direct WordPress deployment. Okay, it's a ready made. So what you can do, you just take the web app first. Okay, let's take the web app. So when you take the web application, I think it is just asking you few things. You just need to fill those things. For example, Azure subscription. Okay, of course, that's our subscription. I prepared a resource group dedicatedly for you, which is ADO 300. Just select that and just go for this one. I'm just going for ADO iPhone 300 iPhone web app. Okay, that's something like that. I'm just giving. As part of this one, you can give some primary. So I'm just highlighting this is a primary web app. So that's the reason exactly I have given. And that this is your domain. ADO-300 web app primary.azurewebsite.net is your domain. Later, if you type this one on the web, this particular browser, your application should reload. Okay, that's exactly the case here. And especially what kind of deployment you are doing. Are you deploying a code? Are you deploying a Docker container? Are you deploying a static web app? Yes, I'm deploying a code. So just take the code as the basic one. And proceed further. I'm just going there. I'm just selecting one of the Java platform. I already mentioned you. It's a Spring Boot application. That's why I'm just considering a runtime stack as Java. Okay, you can consider anything, not at all an issue. Okay, not at all an issue. This one. If you select the always upper version, that would be the best case for you. Okay, because if your application being developed with the lower version, your upper version platform still supports that. That's why. So you can select anything is fine. For now, I'm just selecting Java 11. Just like that, I'm just selecting. And the web server stack, this is an embedded web server which will be there inside your Java platform only. Whatever is there, I think I'm just keeping those things only. Just keep that one. This is a web server which is already with comes with your Spring Boot Java platform. Okay, just keep this one. Then I'm just going for the operating system, especially what exactly the underlying. This is what I'm talking about. In this diagram, if you see this one, this is the infrastructure exactly we just discussed, right? This is ASP, which is app service plan, and infrastructure we are planning, especially whether you need a Linux infrastructure or Windows infrastructure, whether it needs to be deployed with the Java 11 or Java 8, all these things we are discussing. If you just go here, there go for the Linux is the one which I'm preferring, and also I'm just keeping the Linux one and just go for the region where you can go for this particular thing if you go for the Southeast Asia. I'm just considering one of the thing is the Southeast Asia. Just select the Southeast Asia. Just proceed further. There you're saying the Linux plan. This is the exactly the app service plan we'll call it. The app's pricing plans, you can see the Linux plan, the pricing plan. If you see this one team, you are creating a pricing plan. If you see something in the bracket in the Azure cloud, meaning that it's going to be created. And if you see the pricing plan, if you open the drop down there, you're seeing a lot of things. Free, basic, premium, P3, P1 V3, P2 V3, P3 V3. What exactly the difference here? You can easily understand the difference. If it is a free one, if it's 60 minutes, only free for you. You can go for this one team comfortably, but some features will be disabled here, especially on the auto scaling, those things, and also domain configuration and networking. Those things will be disabled because it's the cheapest one. Even P1 also will not support all the features, but if you are working in real time where you are simulating your architecture, at least to go with the premium P1 V3. just go with this one at least, because this one will help you to just provide you all the features at least for you. Okay. Right. So especially if you see this free F1 and basic B1, I'm just going with at least basic B1 for now. I'm just see, even I select basic B1, my zone redundancy is not enabled. If you go for the premium, see my zone redundancy got enabled. That's the difference exactly I'm having. So based upon your input selection only, some of the options will be clear. So please understand that. And especially why we need this one, just now I explained this one. Okay. If you recall, just now when I was explaining about the high availability, if you have the app service and app service plan, if you could maintain another site in another zone, if something happens to the zone 1 infrastructure or zone 1 coolers or zone 1 power, whatever the things happens, still your zone 2 app service and app service plan will help you. So that's the point exactly this is talking about. If you enable the zone redundancy, that will be really good, and you can sense it. See, app service plan and apps, it's zone redundant. The minimum app service plan instance count will be 3. So meaning that they will give service plan instance 3, meaning that 3 infrastructure belongs to 3 different zones will be provisioned for you. So that's exactly the advantage for you. Right. So once this is done, I'm just going further. This one is not really needed for this architecture. I'm just going with the basic only. Just go for the database. We don't have any database specific to this architecture. I'm not touching this particular part. I'm not deploying anything directly from the Git directly to the web app. We will do that one by using CI/CD. We just leave this one also. Coming to the networking part, since we have not discussed anything on the virtual network subnetting and all, I'm not touching this one also. Enable public access true. That's the thing exactly I just came. Okay, and also you just go for the monitoring part. You don't need to worry about, especially this is also one of the important thing which you need to think about. Since you enable application insights here, during after your application deployed in the web app, this particular app service, if something happens specific to your application, any performance anomalies or any kind of issues are happening for your application, these things will help you to understand what exactly the things happen. See, it will create an application inside. That application inside, if you go there you can see it will automatically checking health of your application. This is nothing but Azure Monitor. It's Azure Monitor behavior only. Exactly Azure Monitor behavior only. The application insights is the feature which will help you to check health of your web application. I will show you this one once it's provisioned. Just go for the tags, and tags are really important to just differentiate the specific cost on your components. If you are interested, just give that particular part. Just go for the review and finally click on create. The interesting part now here is it will provision 2 services for you. One is app service, another one is app service plan. That's exactly the advantage here. Okay. So what exactly the components it's provisioning? If you go for the diagram, these two things are being provisioned now. Okay, app service and app service plan. So these are the things exactly we are provisioning at the moment. This is really good. Now, once your primary deployment is completed, you need to plan for secondary as well. There is a secondary which is app service and the app service plan. Let's do this one after completing our architecture. Okay, we will do this particular secondary part at last. Okay, if you add this one now itself, it will add you the chart. Okay, whenever you are done with your architecture, then you can add the secondary. And by the way, you can keep your primary and secondary in active passive or active active also. Oh, what does it mean? For example, if you want to keep 100% traffic to the primary and secondary will be in the passive mode, meaning that 0%. So you're not using secondary, but your secondary you can make it up at any moment. That's a behavior. No, you want to use both primary and secondary, then you can give some 50% traffic on the top, 50% traffic on the second, so that you can make use of all these particular app services in the primary and the secondary comfortable. So you can think in that way also. That is also still possible with the help of the friend. All right, team. So the first and foremost thing, your deployment is completed. You just go to the deployment, especially the app service. This is what your app service. Web app is the one exactly the app service. If you go there, it will take a while to load this particular area. Okay, just wait for a while. Why I'm telling you wait for a while here? It will give you the domain. This is the domain exactly Azure provided for me. Let's copy this domain. You just come here and just paste it. So now what exactly the thing here is when you type this particular domain on your browser, it will redirect to the default page what Azure is offering to us. So let's see this particular part. So this is the default page. Even any one of you can also test this one. Okay. So that's the default page which you can see on the screen. That's really good. But the change for the real-time case here is your domain may not be the same. Now, as a DevOps engineer, what is your task here? They will ask you, hey, the domain, whatever you're seeing on the screen, we are not interested to keep this domain. Can you please add a custom domain? What is custom domain? Custom domain in the sense, for example, if they're interested to use app.diagrams.net, if they are interested to use app.diagrams.net here, so you need to make sure when you click on app.diagrams.net in this particular browser window, it should navigate to the Java developers homepage. How exactly we can do this one? How exactly we can do this one? So to sort out this one, you need to come here. Especially there is a area which is a custom domain. This is a common practice across your cloud. Okay, this is not only for Azure cloud, even AWS or GCP. This is a common task usually you will get. Okay, how to change a new domain? You can add a custom domain and you can give that particular domain whatever the domain you are talking about. And the first and foremost thing, you should own a domain. You should buy a domain. We already have a domain which we already purchased. I have a domain already I purchased in the AWS cloud so that I can show you between the AWS cloud and Azure. Okay, that's one of the tasks which we are going to simulate as part of our architecture. Okay, at this moment we are not doing this one. Once our deployment is completed, then we will do this particular custom domain configurations and all. Okay, so don't worry, but this is there in our plan. We will do this. We will do this. Okay, I already own a domain so that we can make use of that one. All right, Tim. So this is the custom domain part which you can think about. And for that custom domain, if you have a certificate, you need to upload that certificate in this particular area. So that's exactly the thing which you need to think about. And coming to the networking part, this particular networking part is the one of the interesting one. But at this moment, you don't worry on this networking part because you don't know anything about your virtual network and the subnet and the private endpoints. Okay, we'll deep dive into this part for the coming architectures. All right. So these are all the major things which you need to keep in your mind. And this is the scale up and this is the scale out. So meaning that number of instances you want to run at the same time. So you can think about these things also. How many instances you are planning to keep here. Okay, you can see the current instance is one. Maximum you can scale up to 3 with this plan. So that's the thing exactly it is giving, and you can see the price also here. You can see some $13 per month is exactly the charge you are getting here. All right, team. So few options we just take a look. Don't worry, I think we need to see other things as well going forward. So for now, what exactly the thing I'm talking about? So once you are done with this particular part, okay, your app service is ready. Now, what exactly the thing we need to? You just go to your DevOps. Okay, I'm just going to the DevOps part. When you go for the DevOps, especially we need to create a service connection. That is a very, very important thing which you need to think about. If you go to the organization settings, especially how to create a service connection, you just go to the one of the option which you can see, sorry, yeah, which you can see here. Just go to the project settings, just open the project. There you can go for the project settings here, team. Once you click on the project settings, there you can see the service connections. Just click on the service connections. This is the service connections I'm talking about. Once you click on this particular new service connection, it will ask you what kind of service connection. See, remember the point here. From Azure DevOps, you can connect with the GCP, you can connect with the AWS, you can connect with Alibaba, you can connect with IBM also. But the thing is, you need to use the right service connection. That's the only the thing you need to think about. Okay. For example, I'm just using for Azure to Azure connection. You can go for the Azure ARM, which is a Azure Resource Manager. For example, ARM. So this particular, yeah, Azure Resource Manager you can make use, which is the resource manager which you can think about. So this is the exactly the thing will help you to make a connection between your DevOps and the portal. Think about it. Okay. I'm taking service principal automatic. You just take this particular thing. I think few other options also got added this time. Okay, let's export these things bit later. Okay, I'm also saying few options new here. Service principal automatic. Just go for the next. It will ask you to authenticate. So it will ask you to log in one more time. So I'm just logging. I'm just giving a email ID and just followed by your just provide your password. Okay. So just try to log into the portal. So the moment when you log into the portal, obviously this particular service connection, what are the service connection? So just come, yeah. If you see this one, your resource groups all got loaded here. It will take sometimes a little time. If you disable the pop-up, your login screen will not come. Please understand. If your login screen is not coming, means you please double check your pop-ups whether your pop-ups blocked or it's allowed. Please double check and open your resource group ADO 300. Of course, I'm going to connect with the components which are sitting in this resource group. That's why I'm just taking ADO 300. Just giving some name ADO 300 hyphen service. Okay, that's exactly the thing which I'm just giving for the moment. Just copy that and just go for the full permission for all the pipeline. Just save it. You know what exactly you're doing? You are establishing a connection from your DevOps portal to the portal. Okay, that's the thing. This is what exactly I'm talking about. So this is the thing exactly you formed just now. You did this one, you did this particular part also. See, but this connection is going to the app service, but I selected only resource group, right? If you select a resource group, you can connect any component inside that resource group, any component inside the resource. That's why I selected the resource group so that I can directly connect to that resource group. So that I can access any component which are sitting inside that resource. All right, team. So that's exactly the part for the DevOps, especially the service connection also got created. All right. So once your service connection also created, app service is done, the service connection is done. The next important thing, what exactly I'm going to simulate? I'm going to simulate from Azure repository, build pipelines, release pipeline. This is the sequence which we are going to touch. All right. This particular part we will see in the next session. You can raise your questions now. Yeah. All right, team. Any questions?
Dinesh, whatever every class we need to discuss, can you please make it a note or otherwise provide the notes so that it will be helpful for everyone? Even though we are discussing many things in our verbally, if in writing something, it should be helpful and remember forever also.
Okay. So what I can do, Sujit,
Yes.
I can share these diagrams with you guys. Okay, that's a help
See,
I can do.
yes.
And
See, my motto
also,
is yeah, that is correct. Diagram with some written information means it should be more appropriate for these things, I think, from my suggestion.
okay, so writing content means so generally I will write the key points. So what are the keywords which are required for our discussion? Usually I will place here. But the thing is,
Okay.
if further articles actually generally what are the class usually we are completing or we are doing right team. So generally I have my own blog. Okay, so you can take a look over there so that I believe you can understand, but it will be little slow. It will not be as speed as our deliveries. Okay, for example, you can take a look on the on premises which we discussed on day one, right? So we started discussing about this case. For example, I'm just telling you. So you can just open that and what are the discussion we made? I just placed a article over there. You can take a look. Okay, I think this could help you, right? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I
Okay,
think
let's
you can see a lot of information here. Okay, than my discussion. What are the things I think you just take a look here. I think these things are the one exactly we discussed as well. Right? I think same thing only I just articulated here. You can take a look. Okay, but this one will be little slow. It will not be parallel as your session. Okay. For example,
mm,
this is our first session. So the next one is some basic DevOps model which I pushed, and it will be behind one or two sessions. Your article, okay? Yeah, that's the
okay.
thing exactly I can show. Yeah. But writing on the drawing screen, it will take too much time actually, Biswajit. Okay, it will slow down our implementation process, our executions. Yeah.
Okay. At least whatever the component you are using and just mention in down that this is the components so that I will also look into the things that part.
Yeah, you can refer the article. Okay, you can refer the article. Article will tell you the same thing what I discussed in the session team. Okay, because I only prepared this one, right? The same discussion only will be there. Okay, so don't worry on that.
Okay, then.
Okay, like, any other question, team? If you guys thinking it's a member only story, I can release this one. Okay, not an issue. Okay? Will you give any new task other this for us to practice? Definitely, Pawan. Okay, you need to, after I implement this architecture, you need to do it on your own. Okay, you need to do it on your own. But I'm not asking you to do up to here because it'll charge you, which is of no use, right? Let me complete this one tomorrow. Then I will ask you to implement the same thing in your cloud. Okay, you can do that. Yeah, you can do the same task. Okay, actually, you can do the same task. I can give some other. If I do Spring Boot, I can give the React JS to you. You can give it a try. Or I can give the Python to you. You can give it a try. I'll cover those things in other architectures. Okay, that's my plan. Yeah. Any other question, team?
Dinesh, you keep saying that Spring Boot or React and Angular, and someone he asked that me coming out from a Microsoft shop, I will ask for .NET. In real time, I do deal with .NET, but in real time, how does it make a difference? What is the
What?
difference that if someone is asking for go for Spring Boot, someone is asking for go for Java, someone is asking for go for Angular, while deploying those applications, how does is there any difference in deploying those
Yeah.
applications there, or
Yeah.
the process is there?
Yeah. See, generally, the concept and the process is same. Okay. But what
Yeah.
will vary here is the platform which you are selecting on this and the process you are building that particular application. Okay.
Oh, okay,
And
build.
build,
Okay.
build process will vary. For example, if you are using some React JS, you will use some npm process to just build your project. If you are
Oh,
using
yeah.
some Spring Boot, you will
Build
use
process
Maven or
should help.
Gradle or those things. That one will vary. Yeah. Any other question, Tim? Yeah. All right, team. Okay. So fine.
Please,
Yeah,
please,
sorry.
please share the article link.
I shared in the chat box already. I think. Right? I shared, right?
Oh,
Yeah, I shared in.
thank you.
Okay. Yeah, no worries. Okay, guys. I think you can follow. You can just follow my articles if you're interested, because I will post interesting facts over there so that I think you can understand the trendy things, how we can handle your real-time cases as well. Okay. Like, yeah.
Dinesh, I have a question. Like when you were doing Azure DevOps, right? Are you doing only classic and release pipelines, build pipelines, or will you also do YAML-based pipelines during the
YAML
process?
based pipelines, yeah, YAML based pipelines, Pawan, especially because I just distributed the pipeline setups also, especially in the Ansible and the Terraform. I'll bring up the YAML based pipelines. Okay,
Okay, will you be
there I'll
covering
just,
templates and other parameters in that, like how to use
yeah,
templates? How to, okay.
yes, definitely the customized templates I will deal especially in your DevOps model, advanced DevOps model. Okay, not at this moment.
Yeah,
It's too
it's all
early,
right.
but I will deal
So,
that. I will deal the customized templates for you. Yeah.
how does this we will only be using for DevOps Azure DevOps, or will also be touch basing on Jenkins for
Yeah,
Azure?
I have. I believe I don't know whether you referred our intro session. I have
Yeah.
the architecture especially for Jenkins to Azure, Jenkins to AWS,
Okay.
Jenkins to GCP. I haven't promised, but I will try to establish the connection for GCP as well. Okay. Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
No worries.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Hi, Dylan.
Yes,
I think whatever the Medium article you have shared, so it requires a subscription of a Medium.
I will release that. I will
So
release that. I can sense it. I will release this memo only. Okay. Don't worry. I will release it. Yeah.
yeah, thank
No, no worries. Yeah. All right, team. I believe today discussion is fine. I think let's deal the tomorrow part, and we will try to complete this architecture, and I will give you the homework, and you guys need to execute the same thing on your machine, and so that I think we can see if you face any issues during our sessions. Okay. All right, team. Yeah. Thank you for the session. Thank you. Bye.